welcome back to another edition of Cat Calls. I am Kat, and this is my show that I do every other Thursday right now at twitch.tv/KATBEIN, where we invite very exciting musical guests to the program. Yay, Sydney Pooch, I'm glad you're here too, and Joey Headset, and everyone else in the chat. And if you are watching this later on YouTube, which is where I post all of the interviews after they've happened live, and you're wondering to yourself, why wasn't I there when it happened live in the chat with Sydney Pooch? Well, I'm wondering that too. You should just come on by the show every other Thursday at twitch.tv/KATBEIN. Now, I'm not here just to reprimand you, although it does go very well with our guest. I think our guest will do a much better job of punishing you for not being here live. But try not to get punished by her. Try your very, very best and give a big round of applause to today's guest. Everyone give it up for Lucille Croft. Yes. Yes, I know. Now, maybe she won't spank you, or maybe she will. Actually, I keep making all these jokes because, you know, Lucille brings a very dark, gothy edge to her music and her vibe and her look. She's very inspired by Nine Inch Nails and industrial dark wave, and, you know, as am I. It's very fitting. It was not on purpose that this week's edition of my Cat Scrawls newsletter was all about my relationship with goth music, but it's very thematic. It's all working out, like, it's all coming up Cabine. But I have to say, Lucille, she's not just regurgitating sounds that are familiar. Even though it feels like you can pick out her references and her influences, she really has a style all her own. It's unique, it's original, she has a voice, she has perspective. And she's blending all of these industrial, hard, gothy elements into techno, into drum and bass, into dubstep, and more. And she's an extremely strong-willed human. She knows who she is, and she is ready to fight for it. And I am so excited to have her on today's program. The practice call alone was super fun, really natural. I know this hour is just going to fly by, so let's hurry up and get started. I don't want to leave her waiting. I don't want to leave you waiting. I'm going to get you in the mood with her song, Bury Me in Leather. It's off of her new EP, The Valentine Effect. And if you don't know what The Valentine Effect is, you're probably already experiencing it. That's what it says. That's what it says in the beginning of the EP. But I don't know. I guess I'm already experiencing it. We're definitely going to experience it together. If you have a feeling that you know what it is, tell me in the chat. And if you like to be called by Dom or sub or gimp or slave or master or mistress or puppy, you let us know in the chat as well while I play this song, Bury Me in Leather, get you all worked up and jazzed up. And when I come back, Lucille will be on the line, so make sure you have your questions ready, because this is your show as much as it is my show. You are here to ask questions. I am here to get the answers, and we are all here together to listen to Bury Me in Leather, okay? Miss you, Biscuit!
Let me rest in plunder. I wear it fair. Bury me in leather.
And we're live, folks. Astro War 2050 was sweating watching that visualizer that you sent over for Bury Me in Leather. I mean, leather is hot, you know, both sexually and temperature-wise. Like, you kind of sweat. But welcome to the program.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Why was Bury Me? I know, yeah, it's fine. Just, you know, giggle your way through it. There's really no wrong way to eat a cat calls. Why was Bury Me in Leather the song that you felt you wanted to start the show with? Is it because that is your most sincere demand to your friends and family?
It's just not that deep. Like, I just want to be buried in leather, and I'm like putting the song out and pushing the song so like my family and friends take note.
I fuck with it.
It's actually like, it's a song that's like very dear to me. I'd had the idea. I woke up in the night and wrote down like the lyrics on a piece of paper, like bury me in leather, let me rest in pleasure. Like, honestly, like 4 years ago, before I was even using my voice and vocals.
Oh, wow.
And songwriting. And it's just really exciting to me that I brought it to life.
Yeah, 4 years is a long time.
That's a really long time.
Did it come to you in a dream? Is that what you're saying? You said you woke up and you wrote it down.
I was very likely having some kind of kinky dream involving leather. I'd say that's where it started, but like I can't remember. I'm fairly certain. I actually get a lot of my song ideas from dreams. I have like
Yeah.
really, really bizarre dreams.
Tell me about the craziest one that you had recently and if it influenced a song that you're working on.
Yes, but I just have such bad memory. I'm trying to remember.
Well, that's the thing. You never
I
remember dreams, right? In the first place.
Yeah, I started trying to like do a dream journal, but then like I get too invested and excited when I was writing. When I'd wake up at 4 a.m. and then I wouldn't sleep. So now I'm like specifically like not writing them down, but then I forget everything, which is infuriating. Because like I feel like a lot of my best ideas come to me at like 3 a.m. in the morning. I'll wake up and like be like wide awake, like I've just been like slapped in the face, and I'll be like, oh my god, I have this song idea, or like this idea for like a merch thing or a photo shoot or like for a sound, and it's like.
Damn.
Yeah, that's like where like my most productive time of my life is. It's like 3 to 4 a.m. I'll just sometimes wake up and be like, that's the thing I've been trying to work out for 3 months. Boom.
Have you ever heard how in like a few hundred years ago, it was actually very normal socially for folks to go to sleep for a few hours, wake up around like 2 or 3 in the morning, do a bunch of creative work, and then go back to sleep. And there was like 2 sleeps that people took.
No, I haven't, but 2 sleeps does sound amazing.
It's real. It's real. You're just you're just onto something is all I'm saying. Like it's not weird.
I think because like in a dream, I've been trying to do lucid dreaming. I feel like I've accomplished it a few times where I've like become aware in my dream. I read this like really interesting article talking about how to like make yourself conscious. And it got really weird because it said like count your fingers, because apparently when you're dreaming, your body cannot get correct, like your brain doesn't ever correctly add the right amount of fingers.
Whoa.
And also if you look at the time will be really bizarre.
Yeah.
So I did it in a dream, and then I feel like if someone who's like really good at lucid dreaming, like imagine all the stuff you could do. You'd be like in like an infinite dimension of like being like, I want to think about like this, so it'll just appear.
So sick. I've also been very interested in lucid dreaming throughout my life. And I think I like once kind of realized I was dreaming. And it's kind of embarrassing, but I'll say when I was a teenager, you know the band Incubus? Okay, I had a huge crush on the singer, Brandon Boyd, as did like every girl at the time. But I had this dream where I was like in a car with Brandon Boyd, and then I realized like that's not possible. This must be a dream. And then I was like, well, I should make out with him. But before I could make out with him, I woke up. So I didn't even get to the most out of it.
Damn, you should try again.
I should try again. Yeah, it's tough, but I do know that I've had many dreams where exactly like you said, like technology just doesn't really work well, like counting doesn't really work well, you can't read anything. And like I know I've had dreams where I'm like trying to take a picture with my phone of something, and I'm just like every time I'm like, this picture sucks, like why can't I take the picture?
Yeah, the whole like art of dreaming is really interesting. I've read like psych studies on people who practice being like conscious during their dreams, so then they can try and like learn or develop skills while they're asleep, like piano playing or like developing a language. And there's been like some studies where people have been like, this is not a thing, but then there's been other studies that have shown people who have like successfully like learned like a language or something after doing it for like, you know, a long period of time, or like they start learning piano when they don't practice ever when they're awake.
Whoa, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
What would you want to sleep osmosis learn?
Drums.
Ooh, fuck yeah.
Also, I just started learning German a few days ago on Duolingo, and like I feel like German's productive. Like I want to live in Berlin in the future.
Cool.
But I another language that I saw that was available was High Valerian, and I'm like a huge Game of Thrones fan. So basically, the other thing I would learn, I'd be wanting to learn drums in my sleep and High Valerian.
That seems, like, yeah, fantasy languages seems like a really fair like sleep hobby, like lesson, right? Like, you know, if this doesn't work out, it's like it's not making my life any worse. But if it does work out, sick.
Have you seen that Rick and Morty episode? I think it's from the latest season where like they develop like Rick invents this machine, and it's like when they're asleep, you put this machine on, and then like the sleep version of you, which is another version of you,
Oh,
gets up and
shit.
starts doing all the cleaning and really annoying tasks and like rehearsing. But then like the awake version of Rick and his family end up pissing off like the asleep version, and
You
then
know-
they like end up clashing.
I have not seen
it's
this,
a-
but as soon as you said they were using their sleep versions as like house slaves, I was like, "There's no way that ends well." Like this is the sleep version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sleep versions were pissed. They were like, "Can you just put like your, like unload the dishwasher, and we'll do the rest. We'll like scrub the floors.
Yeah.
We just want you to unload the dishwasher." And
They're
then
like,
like
"Fuck
awake
you."
people would be like, "We're not unloading the dishwasher." Like screw them. And then it just ended up in this huge feud of like battling whether the body was awake or asleep and who was going to rule it. Just kind of another thing that made me think is like I think that Morty was like learning, like he was doing all his homework while he was asleep, so awake Rick didn't have to.
Yeah. I fuck with that. Thank you for the follow, 333 unit 333, by the way. And Joey Headset brought up the point that that's very similar to Severance. Did you watch Severance?
I think so.
Oh man, I think you'd remember. It was on Apple TV, and it's like the people that go into work, but their brains have been split so that when they go into work, they don't actually remember what they were doing outside, and then like when they're outside of work, they don't remember what happened at work. I feel like you'd like it.
My mom has been telling me to watch that show. I watched an episode and I was like infatuated by it. I thought it was such a cool concept.
It's crazy.
But then something else distracted me. But yeah, I should get back to that.
You should. That's your homework.
Okay.
But
What's yours?
let's find out.
Okay. Yeah.
You shout it out when you find it. But I was getting some really good deets from you about your very cool shirt before we went live. Please show off your very cool shirt. Donna.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Why is Jaws
it's
your
one of the best things
favorite
ever.
movie?
I've always had this extreme obsession with sharks. I think that like when I was little, like I wanted to be like really powerful. So I was really into like powerful animals, like alpha animals. So like I've loved like wolves. I'm obsessed with wolves. And I love sharks. And then like I got really into like the ancient dinosaur era at some point when I was in like high school or primary school. And then I found out that there's this prehistoric shark called the megalodon, which is like 80 foot or something, enormous. And apparently it was essentially the most like alpha badass thing on the planet to ever exist. Like it could like destroy every other dinosaur that's ever existed. It's like if you did like a 1v1 and like someone even like kind of prepared, like a scientist kind of tried to explain it to gamers. So he was preparing like stats and he's like, this is like the megalodon versus the T-Rex. Anyway,
And the T-Rex is fucked.
I'm obsessed with megalodons. I have like a megalodon jaw
Whoa,
tattoo here.
that's sick.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
And a friend of mine got it because I like love all the Jaws movies, I love all the Sharks movies. And I used to have my septum pierced, and everyone, all of my friends and my family nicknamed me Dennis Rodman because he used to have that like giant bull ring. So it's like
It's just you. It's
my
the
upbringing.
perfect you shirt. Love when things like
Yeah.
that come together. Love a crossover
Yeah.
episode.
I don't know who thought to make this T-shirt, but they're a genius.
Yeah. Shout them out.
Yeah, find out.
How do you feel you're doing on your journey to be as powerful as a megalodon? Or like where on the scale of alpha animals does Lucille Croft yet rank?
I've been quite slack with gym, so not as high as I would like.
Hey, that's
Every
fair.
day I'm kind of like, I'm going to join a new gym, but now I'm waiting till I move to a better spot. I've also been saying for a while I was going to take up like Muay Thai or
Ooh.
Ninjutsu.
Fuck yeah.
And I haven't done it yet, so I feel like maybe when I have some like very extreme martial arts skills under my belt, then I can be like the megalodon equivalent.
Yes.
Right now, I feel like my greatest asset is my word. I can verbally do damage, but physically,
Yo.
I mean, I have a sword collection, like, you know,
yeah.
that goes a long way. I have like a big sword and knife collection. I actually got some new last week that I think arrives tomorrow morning.
Hell yeah. How many swords?
Yeah, that was a really interesting question. It's really got me thinking.
Well, I'm glad. You know, you did tell me during our practice call that you have at one point in your career been so frustrated with interviewers that you said fuck it and you started your own blog so you could interview artists with questions you thought were interesting. So I'm just trying to meet your standards, you know?
Yeah, that's like actually such a dude. I'm gonna think about that all night. I feel like I'm gonna be pondering at like 5 a.m.
You're gonna wake up
would my
at 4 in the
stats
morning
be as a
and write
human?
it down and be like, I could fight a tiger, but I couldn't yet fight a velociraptor.
Yeah, definitely not to Velociraptor. They're crazy. I'm also really into the Jurassic Park movies, and I noticed that like they are a lot faster than I thought they would be.
Yep, thank God they're not really alive, but it would be cool. Okay, you did play Ultra Music Festival just a few weeks ago, and maybe a dodo. My friend Jake, who says he met you in LA at a Very Sweaty Boys Noise concert. Do you recall this Very Sweaty Boys Noise concert in LA?
Yes, I feel like I lost like 10 kilos from that. It was amazing.
I'm so
not
jealous.
Not I lost weight. It was like the sweatiest venue I've ever experienced in my life. This was hotter than a sauna. I feel like they could just rent it out as like a mass sauna. Somewhere in downtown LA, but it was great. I was like struggling to breathe, but it was like in an enjoyable way because, you know, there was just really great techno music.
Absolutely.
And everyone just kind of kept looking around at each other, like acknowledging that we were all like dying of sweat.
Yeah. Like, hello. Yes, it is great to die beside you. This is worth it. This is worth it.
Yeah, someone kept doing water runs and bringing like a 24-pack of water bottles and just handing them out to everyone who was like next to the stage. It was really funny. Like it just kept being a communal thing where someone would go back and get it and we'd all be like, thank you. I didn't see like anyone drinking. They were just hydrating. I woke up feeling incredible after that night though because I drank like 10 bottles of water. Nice. I don't think I've ever been so hydrated in my life.
Yeah. Turns out, you know, I'm big water gang. I've had enough hangovers in my lifetime that I have now learned that sometimes I don't need to drink. I need to just chug a Red Bull and drink 7 waters, and you'll be surprised how good of a time you can have if that's all you're doing. Especially if Boys Noise is playing in a literal sweatbox. Like, I'm very jealous. Boys Noise pretty much always brings the pain. So
yes, he never misses.
But I
don't think he's capable of missing.
I know, but I keep getting distracted, but I'm not shocked to hear that you would one day like to live in Berlin. I thought about it because, of course, Boys Noise is from Germany. But I did this interview with him once, and I don't know if I'd ever heard this about him, but I asked about his upbringing and like where he grew up, and he grew up in this like town around or in Frankfurt or Hamburg, one of the two, and he like learned to DJ in gay clubs when he was like 16. And I feel like that is just one of the coolest statistics I've ever heard about a DJ and like tracks. Like if you're 16 and you're playing techno for like German queers, that's probably a trial by fire.
Yeah, I wish I was doing that at 16, but I wasn't.
What were you doing at 16 instead?
When I was 16, I was thinking for a very different path in life. My dad really wanted me to like be a doctor or like a lawyer, so I was aiming for law school.
Wow.
I did get in, but then I dropped out very quickly. I was expecting it to be like Suits where I get to like argue and, you know, prove my point in court, but it turns out it was just an excruciating amount of reading.
I could see the appeal though for your power goals, you know, like just looking like really a bad bitch in a suit. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like doing like dressage, and I think at that point in my life I was thinking of moving to Germany to be like a professional dressage rider. Like I was not touching music. I was listening to a lot of like bands like metal, but I don't think I could even like have named like an electronic act back then because I'd only heard a little bit of like cheesy electronic music, and I was like, oh, is that as good as it gets? So I fumbled pretty badly. I could have had a career so much like early when I was 15, but I just didn't realize that like there was this whole incredible world of electronic. I thought that these 2 shitty songs that I heard was it.
Now I want to know what songs those were. Are they songs anyone knows? Are they like famous?
Yeah, they they were like hits back then. I'm trying to remember what one of them was called. I know how it goes.
Yeah.
Does Shazam have a thing where you can like hum it
It
in?
should.
Yeah.
It should.
I
I don't
feel
know.
like I may have imagined
We might
that, but
know
I
it.
thought
The
maybe that was
chat might know it if you sing it. It wasn't like I'm blue, was it?
No. I can't remember. I'm like,
It's not that deep. It's not that important of a detail, really. I'm just curious. So what was the song that you heard that you were like, wait, fuck, what? Like it gets like this?
Aphex Twin.
Of course. Of course.
I went to my first like EDM festival. It wasn't even just EDM, like they had a lot of other stuff. I think it was Future Music Festival or Stereosonic in Australia. I was like,
Damn.
like
You're so
17
lucky that you
maybe.
like wandered into was it an Aphex Twin set?
Yeah, so I lost my friends and I was like, I think I was like 17 or 18. And I was like, fuck this electronic music. But there was someone on the lineup who I really liked. My friend gave me a free ticket. And I was like, yeah, I'll come.
Hell
And I was
yeah.
walking around and I was like, just sitting there and I was like, this is not as cool as I thought it would be. Like my calculations were correct. EDM is not interesting. I was
At least
just
you
being
gave
like,
it a try, you know? Like that was nice
I was
of you.
such a hater. I was such a hater. I still kind of am in some regards, but I'm like a fun hater now.
Yeah, I feel that. I myself am
yeah.
a fun reformed hater.
Yes, that's me. And yeah, like, and I walked into this tent because it was really sunny and I was trying to like get into the shade and I walked in there and Aphex Twin was playing and I was staring at the visuals and I was like,
Crazy.
I think my drink's been spiked.
Yeah, yeah,
Because I was
right.
just staring at his face, moving to all the different screens, and I was just sitting there. I'm like, this is it. This is like how I die.
Yeah.
My drink's been spiked. I'm probably gonna pass out in a second. I don't know where my friends are. I didn't even get to like get my license or live life yet.
This is
Not
exactly
great.
the vibe Aphex Twin is hoping people experience when he hits the stage too, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'd never like. I'd assumed that I'd been drugged because I was seeing stuff. It was really cool that the tent was dark and they had so many screens that it felt like a little bit immersive.
Wow.
And then his music was just like the coolest thing I'd ever heard. And I
So
was like,
sick.
wait, what is this? What genre is this? And like, how do I do that? And then after that, I started getting really into electronic music and I realized that I was being a very extreme hater and that there's this like incredible world of electronic music.
Absolutely.
Outside of these two individuals.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know, I heard a couple songs, they were pretty trash. I think we can just
Isn't
throw
that
the whole
insane?
concept away. It's fair. You know what? Especially when you're like 16, 17, it's like that's, I think, the peak of you feel like you get the world. For whatever reason, you're like, yeah, I understand everything. Fuck you, mom and dad. Like, I don't need
Yeah.
anyone to tell me shit. And then you turn 22 and you're like, ugh, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like honestly it's like a God complex thing. Like when you're a teenager, like you think you're like invincible and you think that all the things your parents are telling you to do and not to do, they're like, hey, like we've done this.
Yeah.
You should listen to us. And you're like, oh, like my parents do anything. Like I know everything about the world because I'm 17 and I've maybe been to one country for holiday in my life. Never paid taxes.
Yeah,
But, like,
exactly.
I definitely had a God complex when I was like 17. I was like, I can do whatever I want. I think it happened because like I was able to wing a lot of my high school studies. Like I didn't study a lot, but I'd always like wing things, and I did a lot of classes like history and like English, like essay based ones where I could just make up shit. Mm-hmm. And I got very lucky with teachers. I think I got away with more than I should have. But like I feel like because I was doing that in school, I just developed this God complex where I was like, I know everything about everything. Like I could probably launch a rocket if I tried. And then when I
Yeah,
was like
right.
22, when I was in fashion school, I was just like learning about like my taxes. I was like, oh my God, like how do adults do this? And I still feel like that, like doing
Totally.
taxes and international taxes
Oh, fuck
and like
that.
working out of this stuff. And like, I still need a manual. I need like an adult for dummies or for people who don't really want to learn but have to against their will.
I think
That's it.
Yeah, I think that the reality of being an adult is realizing, oh, I'll never understand. No,
Yeah.
everyone's winging it. And welcome Torden Strike and 333 Unit 333. Legendary, iconic story. So thank you for sharing how Aphex Twin fucking turned you out to electronic music. I was fortunate enough to see Aphex Twin do a set at Coachella before COVID in 2019. And I will never forget, there was this moment, I mean, the music was just so crazy and hard and intense. And then all of a sudden, the like sample that was being all freaked out and twisted and stuff, just like started to play naturally and the music cut out and you realized that the weird sound you had been listening to was just the sound of like a person ugly crying, and then all of a sudden you're just like in this tent and you just hear this person going and I was like, this is the fucking craziest shit, and then like the drums come back and you're just like, yeah, and I was like, wow, that was dark. That was great. Thanks, Apex Twin. So yeah, but you were into Nine Inch Nails before that, right?
Yeah, I'm still obsessed with them.
Of
I think they're like
course.
the greatest band ever.
I quickly want to pause because I was reading an interview that you did with This Song Slaps just a few weeks, like a month ago, and you said they asked you, how do you get back on track when you have a rough week or hit a wall creatively, and your response was, I like to lay on the floor in a pitch black room listening to Nine Inch Nails. I usually do this for a few hours when things are going horribly. But it's funny to me because I just wrote this newsletter where I literally said the same thing, where I was like, there was a period in my life where when I would feel sad, all I would do was turn off all the lights and listen to Pretty Hate Machine until I felt better. So it's not you or me, it's science. Like, this is...
I'm glad to know. I definitely had a few people be like, that's really weird, and like, have you thought about seeing a therapist? And I'm like, well, I feel better after doing it for like 4 hours. Like, I feel great. I just need to go through my emotions quietly, whether it's darkness, so like all my other senses and like my vision's not distracted, and just take in the world and things really pissing me off. And then I'll come out of it and I'll be like, I'm ready to try this again and calmly and hopefully not have disaster strike again. But if so, another 4 hours of Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah, that'll do the trick. Yeah. Thanks, Trent. Look, Trent suffered and created this beautiful art so that we can just tag along. What is your go-to Nine Inch Nails comfort album?
I do love Pretty Hate Machine and all of like Downward Spiral. I kind of honestly fluctuate between like what my favorite album is. And I'm just so obsessed with the whole catalog.
Yeah,
and even
so
like
good.
a lot of his movie scores.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll go on just like the Trent Reznor Spotify and just do shuffle.
Yeah.
I really liked the score he did for Watchmen. I sometimes, this infuriates anyone I've lived with because I've done this for years. I put on repeat the song, I think it's called Seven Bricks, or like Another Brick in the Wall. It's got the word brick in it, and it's just this slow melody. It's 2 minutes and it just repeats.
Amazing.
And I just listen to it for like 7 hours, and I'm like, it's almost like, you know how there's like concentration mixes you can listen to on Spotify?
Yeah.
That's what these songs do to me, and I do it and I'm like, oh, I have emails to answer.
Yeah. Nice. That's your
But like
ASMR.
without it, yeah, without it, I can't guarantee I'll be very functional.
I love that. I love that. Have you ever gotten to see Nine Inch Nails live? You must have.
You're actually not going to believe this, but no. And I'm like furious about it.
It's kind of rare, to be honest. Knowing how long you've been a fan, I just, I've only got to see Nine Inch Nails once, I think. So it's not easy.
Yeah, well, it's hard living in Australia, like waiting to see bands, because bands don't tour Australia that often, because it's like, it's a long flight. You usually don't do bus tours there. You'd fly.
Right. So big, right?
Yeah, I mean, Australia's almost the size of North America. We just have a lot less people and a lot more desert.
Wow. I have yet to have the pleasure of visiting, so I will find out for myself one day. I have to. But, damn, Sydney Pooch saw Nine Inch Nails at Bonnaroo 2009, you lucky duck. That sounds amazing.
I would have killed. I'm waiting for them to announce some more shows. I couldn't make some of the shows last year because I wasn't in America or I had my own stuff going on. But if they announce some shows for this year, I will clear my calendar and get on a flight.
Yeah. Just be like, fuck
not
it.
missing them again.
Cancel my own tour. No.
Yeah, I would consider it. My management would probably not be happy, but I'd try.
I'm gonna manifest for you opening for Nine Inch Nails one day. I feel like that would fit. That would be a fitting. I feel like you have such a wonderful, cohesive universe. I want to hear from you about it because I've also read you talking in interviews about how you want to continue fleshing out this world. You see yourself as building a world around what Lucille Croft is all about. But, you know, Nine Inch Nails has so many intense, incredible visuals. And first of all, also, were those all your goodies in the Seduce and Destroy music video? Or did you borrow some from the class? Because that was a great little array of torture devices.
I'm an independent artist, so usually it's my stuff.
Sweet.
I usually do my own stunts too.
Yeah, of course, you got to. I know I read you saying that you are your own creative director, but what does that mean for the folks in the chat who might not understand even what a creative director role does, but like how many hats are you having to wear to pull off these incredible songs and visuals and album concepts?
I would say too many.
Yeah.
But also like
Short
not
answer,
enough.
too
Because
many,
like
yeah.
there's so much more stuff I want to do. I guess like being a creative director in like music world is kind of like directing like the brand, like often like developing the brand like with the artist, and then like bringing the vision to life and like building a brand in a world which will include like artwork, even like your kind of voice on social media, videos, tour flyers, merch, even like the show itself, like building out their vision and their music to like match it, and like just building like a whole world. I'm a fan of world building, and I think that music is such like a beautiful and like in-depth thing. Like instead of a song just being a song, like, and an artist just being like someone who makes the song, like build a whole world around it. So like the fan and the listener gets to experience the music in like the best environment. Like, you know, I want you to feel like you're like in the equivalent of like Avatar. I want you to feel like immersed in the song and be able to like picture it and like almost like taste it. So I do creative direction for me. I am my most exhausting client, like completely exhausting. But I don't know that anyone else could do it for me because I'm so particular with my stuff because I have such a direct vision. But luckily, like it's only me dealing with me. Yeah. I creatively direct some other clients, some other artists as well.
Cool.
And it's so fun for me, like, especially artists who are, like, so different from me, like, you know, who aren't writing songs about, like, dungeons and leather. And then, like, building, like, their brand and vision. Like, it's one of my favorite things. And I kind of fell into it accidentally. Yeah. And I really love doing it.
That's cool. I'd love to hear more about that. I mean, you mentioned briefly that you were in school for fashion. Was that before or after you got into law school?
Yes, I did a year and a half of law. Wow. Dropped out, and I was like, this is not like Suits. I feel like I've been scammed. And then I went into fashion school, and it was really funny how I went in because we're lucky to have a school in Australia that's like it's in like the top 10 in the world. It's like incredible. Wow. And I went in there one day. It's called the White House Institute. Very high-end, fancy. They have like an 80% dropout rate or something insane. And then they have like 300 students. So I went in there to apply for a bachelor. I'd never sewed in my life. I couldn't draw. I couldn't do any of the prerequisites. And again, this was one of those moments where I was like pulling a Harvey and it got me there. Yes. Where I went into the interview and it was like a 2-hour interview and they were like, tell us like about your portfolio and all of your history sewing. And I was like, my portfolio isn't here because like we had like a family emergency and I couldn't take the car. My mom took the car. I know if my mom's listening to this, I'm so screwed. But yeah, and I just went in. I was like, I'll drop off the folio next week. I've made these pieces. I'm good at sewing with this. I love these designers because this. And I was just like Googling stuff the hour before. And I got in and it was horrifying because I didn't realize how hard the course was. Because like everyone in there could sew. My teacher for the illustration course, because fashion illustration is a huge part of being a designer.
Absolutely.
She told me at one point that my drawings were so like weird and just not like Picasso, like everyone else in my class. She was just like, you know, like you could maybe just draw a stick figure and it'll give you a pass. Like no need to do this.
I'd love to see some of those drawings.
I could text my mom and try and get some for you at her house. Wow. But yeah, I graduated with a bachelor in fashion design.
You
and
did
I launched
it!
a lingerie label. Yeah.
That's amazing. Congrats. I mean, way to bullshit your way in, but then step up to the plate. Like, that's impressive. You are well on your way to being the powerful megalodon. I mean, I think.
I feel like I get good points for that. I feel like that's like a serious like level up in my like path to being like Meg Power because it was a really hard course. and I just thought it would be fun. I'm like, I'll just sew two pieces of fabric together and I don't know, put some buttons on it, and that's all that fashion is. And I just like did not realize that it is an incredibly in-depth field.
Absolutely.
And the course I was there like 7 days a week. So,
but that must have informed so much about the creative direction that you're doing now for yourself and other artists. Like, I must did it. Like, I can't imagine.
Oh yeah, I learned a lot about like building a brand and like conceptualizing like visions for like, you know, for me what would be like a collection, and then when I apply that to artists and myself where it's like a release, like I treat that as the collection.
Totally.
That's how I creatively direct, doing like trend forecasting, like looking at the market, looking at like color theory for things and like font and like theory. Like it's really fun.
That is really cool.
And I'm glad that I got to do that.
Wow, that's so interesting. So how do things like look, what you were just saying, trend forecasting and looking at the market, like give me an example. Let's talk about your Patient X EP, which is not your most recent EP, but it was the one just before, and you had mentioned to me in the practice call that really, for anyone who isn't aware in the chat and who can't tell from here, Lucille, extremely conceptual based artist, and Patient X was really informed by all these experiences you had with mostly men at labels and in the music industry telling you needed to change your sound, you needed to change your look, you needed to change kind of the way you were going about things, which is so funny to hear because it sounds like you actually are very thoughtful and very clear on what it is that you're trying to do. So it's insane that someone would be like, no to that. But how do you go about creating and preparing the world of Patient X?
I guess for me, like I come up with the concept. That one to me was a little bit inspired by Resident Evil. Like the very first movie. I'm a huge fan. Where I just like, I'm a massive gamer and lover of anime. I like all things fantasy. So I wanted to create a character. Like I had a lot that I wanted to just let off my chest and a lot I wanted to say. And I was like, I could do this as Lucille Croft, where it might be a little bit like too in your face, or I can make it fun and create this character called Patient X who can be my angry outlet. Like, you know, I had a song on the EP called Out for Blood I wrote when I was like furious after like kind of like firing someone, and I was just furious with them. And I just wrote the song in like a day, and it's funny like listening to it now on stage. I was so annoyed at this person who was horrible to me, and then like I have a lyric in there, it's like, I'll tear apart your ego, my only fantasy. Like I was full of like rage. But yeah, so like it was fun for me. Like, you know, I came up with the concept of Patient X being this like character, and I wanted her wearing something like sexy that would be like sexy and empowering to me, but like not to anyone else. Like that latex bodysuit I wore because I'm a huge fan of the designer, and I was like not wearing that so people like, oh, like that's revealing and fun. I was wearing that because I'm like, in a weird way, like I don't feel like I have to be like covering myself up anymore. Like if I want to wear like a latex bodysuit and have giant swords, I will go and do that now because it doesn't make me like less of an artist or like less serious or professional. Anyway, so I applied that, and then I was looking at like my market on the more like, you know, like trend kind of side, seeing like what my fans are kind of like into, and it turns out that like a lot of them are like into games and things like that. So I was seeing a lot of connections that I could make.
That's really cool. I love that. Also, it's crazy to me that it's not crazy to me. It happens every day, I'm sure. But that someone would imply that because you wore some sort of latex bodysuit, you were a less serious artist. Like I feel like if we look at the canon of serious artists throughout time, like so the wearing a latex bodysuit does not eliminate you from the crowd. Like it's just an approach. It's a theatrical statement, you know? Like I don't know. And also you come from this background in like the metal world, and look at bands like Tool or Marilyn Manson or like all of these kind of like shocking, David Bowie. I mean, like these are all artists who just, Lady Gaga, like, you know, it's not unheard of. But I'm happy to hear that you decided to just stick with your guns. Was that a tough decision? Was it ever a thing that you were unsure about doing, or did you always feel very sure in your decisions?
I was definitely unsure about it. I think I was just working around a lot of people who I was still figuring out like how the music industry worked and how things worked. As like being an artist releasing music and stuff, I was just surrounded by a lot of people who were telling me that like female DJs need to fit into this box, which was very stupid. But like I didn't know any better,
Right.
and like they were telling me like you need to like be sexy. Like I was just wearing like band t-shirts and jeans a lot when I started DJing because I wanted to be comfy. And I was also
Makes
like a
sense.
hard techno DJ, so my sets would be like 4 hours. Like you think I'm gonna wear high heels for 4 hours? And they were like telling me I should dress a certain way, like act on night a certain way, and like it was just confusing because I had this vision where I wanted to do like industrial electronic, like Aphex Twin, like Nine Inch Nails meets electronic, and I was just being told no, and I was sitting there questioning it for a long time. Like, is this a terrible idea? Like, is everyone correct? Or should I just go and do this? Because they were like, it's not commercial, it's not going to work. And eventually one day I was just like, fuck this. Like, absolutely fuck off. I'm going to go do it.
Yeah.
Because what's worse that happen?
Right.
That can happen. And it was pretty hard at first. Like, my music is still, like, I guess a bit of a niche. But it was really hard. Like a lot of like labels would listen to it, and again like teams, and they were like, "Oh, this is not like commercial. It's not going to work at the clubs, and on tour and blah blah blah." And you know what? It's working now.
Yeah. I think, well, because, when I was introducing you to the, before I played Bury Me in Leather and brought you on, I was mentioning that, I listen to your music and I feel like I can hear influences and references of where you're coming from as a lifelong music nerd and fan as well, but I can't say, oh, this song sounds just like this, or this song sounds like that band. And I think that having that sense of voice and a clear sort of original approach that does feel familiar in some way is one of the coolest qualities that you can have as an artist. So hats off to you. And like, if you're making the music that really speaks to who you are, you're going to find the fans that want to follow you down any road you want to take, hopefully, right? Like, you're not just making a hit for radio and then where are those fans 2 years later when you decide to do what you really want to do? I don't know. Hopefully it brings a more stable foundation upon which to continue growing.
Definitely. It's like, it's just me making the stuff that I want to make. And I think that I would go crazy as an artist if I didn't. Like, if I started making commercial house, or like, everyone's making tech house now. Like, if I started doing that, like, I'd probably, like, get more streams and stuff like that. But, like, I think being an artist, which is, like, my full-time job and, like, my life, like, if I'm not doing something that I don't, like, completely fucking love, like, I would just go absolutely insane. And it's just like fun. Like, I really enjoy working on my stuff every day, like the songs, and then when it comes to like the artwork and like the videos and stuff, like, because I'm excited for it. Like,
yeah,
it's nice doing things I want to do. And like, maybe it's going to be a harder road, but like, I don't want to be like the next someone else. I want to be the first Lucille Croft. And that's like, it's so important to me that I do that. And I stick to like doing things in my particular style and under my vision, even if it's like, not going to resonate with everyone, but like if I get like one fan from something I do, then that's still one person who's going to be like excited and, listening to my music at night, which is very cool.
It is cool. No, I totally resonate with that. I mean, I'm obviously a big DIY fan too, and I'm going to start telling people that I'm my own creative director because I be out here doing all this shit too.
You are.
We're world building. But I do, as we're already flying through our time, so I want to chat about the Valentine Effect. This is your most recent release. It is another step forward in the conceptual journey that Lucille Croft is on, and I like this one. It's not as like space agey as kind of project Patience X. I don't know why I said project. Patience X had that, like you said, it's like almost that Resident Advisor, like Resident Evil. I keep mixing up my words. All these words. The Valentine Effect has this very like, ooh, it's sensual, it's dangerous. It's not that those are two words that I think describe a lot of what you're up to. But talk to me about the narrative behind the Valentine Effect. And I love how you're like, if you don't know what it is, you're probably already experiencing it. Like, damn, now you got me questioning my whole life.
That's the point. I guess like, okay, so the Valentine effect was kind of like another character to me. Different point in my life, Patient X, I was just pissed. I like needed to let this out. And I was like, I'm going to write an EP about it and dress up and get giant swords. And that can be like a healthy outlet.
Yeah.
Cheaper than therapy. Well, actually, it was pretty expensive, but.
Yeah,
anyway.
right? But hopefully it made you some money back at the same time.
It did. It streamed so well.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm starting to like be able to like pay my bills and stuff off royalties, which is really bizarre to me because I thought I was very far off that.
That's
but like
awesome.
I'm seeing the royalties coming through, I'm like, wow.
That's so exciting.
This is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Essentially I saw Patient X as like the good guy. Like she was like the protagonist. She's kind of like the hero a little bit. She's coming to like save and like liberate the music industry and destroy anyone who is fucking with that.
Yeah.
And I see the Valentine effect as this like person. It's like the dark voice in your head. Like you're kind of like semi-evil conscience who I think a lot of people don't tune into enough. Like I think that people are just so obsessed with like playing things safe and like, you know, like I feel like some people are like living to die. Like, you know, like they work a job they hate. They don't go on holidays. All they care about is saving money. They don't like do luxurious things or take risks. And that's what I was channeling in the Valentine effect. And in a way, like the Valentine effect is a psychological disorder I made up, which is like life itself. Like people like are either like living or they're breathing, but they're just like stuck in this like horrible cycle of practically being like robotic. Like life should be about like, you know, having one foot on the dark side and like doing really stupid things and taking risks. Like that's what's so fun. Like it can be scary, but I think that's like one of the most fundamental things you should do to enjoy life.
Yeah. Get your
so
pulse
that's kind
racing.
of what it was. Yeah. So that's kind of what the EP is about. And the effect that I said, you know, in the intro, like, do you want to know what the Valentine effect is? You're experiencing it. It's just saying like, we're all alive. And like, maybe like life itself is like a disorder in a way, I guess, because we all die. But, you know, so many people are just so obsessed with trying to like prevent death or like not be in any situation that might be dangerous that they're not living.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. Or just, yeah, because even, you know, taking risks can mean jumping off that ledge into the water or something that, you know, feels like maybe it's physically dangerous, but is also going to give you that rush. Or it could be something like, you know, deciding to fire that team member who's telling you that you're not on the right path and saying, fuck it, I'm going to try this thing. Or it could be like quitting your job and going after your dream, right? Like taking risks isn't always a bad thing, but it's dangerous according to what society or whatever is trying to tell you, right? Like you could have stayed in law school and been a lawyer, and maybe you would have eventually gotten to the suit part and argued your case and won, but it's really cool that you're here doing what it is that you're doing today.
Yeah, totally. I've tried like a lot of different things.
It sounds
and
like
I feel like Embrace Chaos was about like embracing that like the chaos. I feel like, you know, you just need to like have a little fire in your life sometimes. And I feel like I often live too much in the fire and have too much chaos. And there's people around me constantly like, you need to like tone that down a little bit. But like, I like it like that. I like feeling like I'm like under a hot pan, but like in a fun way, not where I'm, you know, about to really do something bad.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's nice to me. Like my brain goes really fast. And sometimes it's like exhausts me and just making like, I like to like make a lot of spontaneous decisions. Sometimes they're amazing and sometimes they're like a train wreck, but I enjoy the balance.
Yeah. As long as you're striking a pretty even, you know, more exciting things than train wreck things. Although some train wrecks are exciting, I gotta say. Like,
yes,
you know,
just the cleanup.
Yeah, exactly. That part's not fun. Yeah. You know, the things that, you know, I'm in my 30s and the things that I did in my 20s that I would least like to recreate are still the best stories, you know? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I can't say that they're regrets really. but we try to find stability where we can take it. I'm glad you brought up Embrace Chaos because that's going to be the song that I play on the way out as well. But talk to me about your performances. Are you bringing live elements to the stage yet? I know when you played Ultra, you were playing on the worldwide stage, so that must have been a DJ set, but I know live is definitely on the table for you as far as dreams are concerned. So where are you at now?
Oh yeah. I'm not far off doing it. I've just got to like practice a little. I've got it all like worked out in theory, and I have all this stuff. Like I have like my vocal box, so I can do like really cool effects and stuff. I want to buy like 1 or 2 more synths.
Yes.
And I'm trying to work out the best like portable setup.
Yeah.
So essentially, like I want to have a semi-live setup where I'm gonna have like 1 or 2 synths there, maybe like 1 or 2 like pedals where I'm just writing effects through on some of the stems in my songs.
Yeah.
Doing live vocals where I feel like I can bring my songs to life. I feel like DJing is like it's fun, but like like what's better than like doing like a live performance? It feels more like raw and in your face.
And I could totally see as you talk about like being a person whose brain moves really quickly and liking that pressure of like your feet to the fire, like making something live and fucking with it live and seeing what's working and what's not working. Like that's definitely a way more heightened like blood pumping type of scenario. Not that I'm sure DJing in front of a huge crowd is like really exciting, but talk about turning it up a notch. Like
yeah, I bought a drum pad and
Nice.
I wanted to buy a full electronic drum kit, but the people I live with were like, you can't do that to us.
You
but I
can't
bought
use
an electronic-
headphones?
Yeah, I can, but then like I decided that like the electronic drum pad that I wanted, even though I've never played drums before, it's so big, it takes up like half a room.
Oh,
but I looked
okay.
at it. It looks great, and it was red as well, and I was like, this is a sign that I should buy this.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to use it, and I don't know where I'm going to put it, like maybe in the kitchen. But I should buy it. It feels like a good idea.
Yeah.
And then if I don't use it, then people can like use the symbols in the kitchen to show like when dinner's ready or something.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, like
Dinner's ready, ding ding.
Yeah, so I bought a drum pad to do some like basic drums, and I think it's going to be really fun. I'm going to work it out, and I'll be like premiering like this semi-live show absolutely this year. I think it'll probably be in a few months.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Are you thinking?
And I'll just gradually like build it into like more of a live.
Yeah, I love that. I see that being a great direction for you. It only makes sense. Like you've got such a hunger to be in control, and I think that I want to see that. Like as a fan, I want to be at that show.
Yeah, you'll have to come.
What else is turning your gears these days before I let you go? What excites you at the moment? Whether in the world of media or music or books or just being in LA, like I'd love to hear what is turning you on.
Anime and games at the moment.
Yeah, ooh, there you go.
I've just started.
That's my homework. Give me some anime and games to check out. That'll be my homework.
I've just started. Well, I'm like personally hanging for Diablo 4 to come out. I'm not a hardcore Diablo lover. It doesn't come out till June, so I've been like figuring out what I can do with my life for then. And I was like, maybe I finish another EP or like do something for my career. But I'm replaying Elden Ring, which is one of my favorite games. I'm like obsessed with Dark Souls and Bloodborne, so I'm replaying that. It's really freaking hard. Music-wise, I'm actually like going back and listening to a lot of like 90s techno and stuff at the moment and like break beats because a lot of my music and like my drum work in my songs, I'm moving into like a lot of like breakbeat style stuff and like live drums. It's just really cool seeing like the rave scene around the world from the 90s. Like it was so like raw.
Yeah, totally. I fuck with that vibe for sure. And I grew up in South Florida here where I am now, but breakbeats was a huge thing here. And we had Miami bass, but also just drum and bass was huge here. And there was a whole style of music called Orlando breaks because of the flourishing breakbeat scene in Florida. So check that out. But yeah, see, little did you know, if only you had been a teenager in the 90s, you would have been into techno immediately.
Yeah, definitely feel like I was born in the wrong decade. It's so cool watching. Like, I love how there's like videos you can find on YouTube where they're shot with an old like VHS camera and there's people like chewing their faces off and they're wearing the coolest clothing. It's guys with like giant spikes and like they're listening to like Breakbeat and like The Prodigy, and I was like, damn, like I would love to have gone to a rave like that.
I know, me too. Everyone's like dancing with their water bottles and their baggy jeans and baby doll t-shirts, and like Dr. Seuss hats were really big, like Cat in the Hat, Dr. Seuss hats were really big in the 90s for some reason. Yeah, I remember that. I was a kid, but like I remember everyone I wasn't at raves, but I did have ravers in the family, so maybe I was experiencing it secondhand. But if only we could go back, but you can bring it back.
Yeah,
your next
I should do a 90s themed rave.
Yeah, your next character can be a little inspired by 90s rave. Right? That would be fun. When you bring your characters to life, do you like to go full method acting? Do you just like stay in character all day, or do you live inside your character's head?
I kind of do, but like I feel like each character that I create, and probably will for like the next two, I feel like I have a lot of different versions of me inside. I don't think I have like split personality disorder or anything like that, but I just know that there's a lot of very different Lucille's who like to talk and they argue on which one like comes out for the day. So Patient X was obviously like my rage character where I'm just like really angry.
Yeah.
Valentine, it's kind of like, you know, that like go do that. Like this might be like the worst idea, we might get arrested, but like go do that, Lucille. So like they're all kind of a part of me and like parts that are active at different times. So I feel like when one like dominant personality with thoughts about things comes to life, and that's how the character's created, like that's when I'll write the music for like that body of work. I don't know what the next one's going to be yet. Like
you can't force it. It's going to let you know when it's time.
She will. Hopefully she's nice.
Yeah, right. Well, thank you so much, Lucille. We have absolutely hit our hour mark. I promised you it would go by quickly, and it did for me. I hope it was fun for you. But before I let you go, any parting words, any final messages, any words of wisdom that you want to share with the world?
If you have that voice in your head that's like telling you to maybe go like quit your job or like book that holiday or like buy that like $7,000 sim or break up with your boyfriends, you should absolutely listen to them today. It's a great day to listen.
Yeah, today's the day.
Yeah.
I loved all of those suggestions as well.
No, they were great suggestions.
They were. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to catch you whenever you announce this hybrid live show. Let me know because I'd love to come check it out. I know you'll do more than one, but I'm crossing my fingers and hoping soon.
Yeah, you'll be an essential for the show.
Well, thank you so much. Come back soon. I'll see you later.
All right, bye.
Bye.